नमस्कार। आज का राइट एंगल के जरिए मैं आपके सामने कुछ मेरा विचार प्रकटन करूँगा एंड ऑफ कोर्स ये बड़ा दुख भरा विषय है। You must have known that today another 4 of our jawans have been martyred. They are in Jammu fighting the terrorists. And आपने देखे होंगे अभी पिछले 1-1.5 महीने से ये जो फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ जो टेररिस्ट अटैक्स जम्मू एंड कश्मीर में हो रहा है एंड लगभग 25-30 हमारा सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस have been martyred and including some of our senior military officers also and some civilians also but they were killed perhaps election related thing in the Kashmir Valley, but here these are all hardcore terrorist attacks. एंड आप इसको अगर डीपली एनालाइज करेंगे, अभी जो टेररिस्ट अटैक्स हो रहा है इसका टाइमिंग देखिए। आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू साइड दैट यूजुअल रूटीन थिंग दैट हमेशा होता है जब हमारा अमरनाथ यात्रा होता है। आप देखे होंगे दी पास्ट एक्सपीरियंस जो होता है जब अमरनाथ यात्रा होता है तब अराउंड दिस टाइम ड्यूरिंग द कोर्स ऑफ दैट यात्रा और बिफोर दैट और आप इमीडिएटली आफ्टर दैट वो कुछ ना कुछ टेररिस्ट अटैक्स होता है टू क्रिएट सम सॉर्ट ऑफ फियर। आई एम नॉट गोइंग इनटू दैट, आई एम नॉट मिनिमाइजिंग द importance of that factor. But I think in my considered view, the timing is such that it is being deliberately created by these terrorists and their sponsors and backers from across the border. I'll discuss it little later. Just on the eve of, as you know that the Jammu and Kashmir में अभी elections होने वाला है, by September I think there have to be elections and it is being deliberately done on the eve of those elections to create some sort of fear and then generate heated political discussions against this government led by Mr. Modi. That also I'll come little later. That to discuss that I'll come little later. But you see the timing, and I think it is precisely this thing is in the mind that things are not normal after the abrogation of Article 370. If this government said that after that things have been quite normal, the apprehensions that there would be literally war and things of that sort that did not happen, but the point is that it is a message that is being conveyed. All told, things are not normal, but here there is a catch. And what is that catch? You see these terrorist attacks earlier, say before the abrogation of Article 370, they were mostly happening in the Kashmir part of Jammu and Kashmir, I mean the now Union Territory, and I'm quite sure it is going to be a state again. The statehood would be restored minus Ladakh. It's a matter of time. But the point is that these things were happening in the valley of Kashmir and the surrounding regions. But these days it is precisely happening in the Jammu region. Jammu region means whether it is Rajouri, Poonch, Doda, Kathua, and it is all happening near that that Pir Panjal range, that mountainous mountainous range. Beyond that is the Kashmir valley, who controls that. But then it isn't happening in this part. And why it isn't happening here? Precisely, as I said, the overall aim is that when these elections are coming, Jammu traditionally has been the majority of the people happen to be the so-called Hindus, and then Kashmir is predominantly Muslims. I think they constitute the overwhelming majority, and the message that is being conveyed in that Jammu part is precisely this: if this fears will be sustained through these sorts of terrorist incidents from time to time, it may adversely affect the demographic composition. अब जैसे अब जानते हैं कि जैसे कश्मीर वैली से पंडित वापस आ गए इस तरफ को, सिमिलरली यहाँ जो होता है, अगर वो जो हिंदूज इन दीज रीजन्स डोमिनेटेड इवन अप टू उधमपुर साइड, अगर इफ दे मेक ए मूव and in these areas, as it is, if you see over the last 15-20 years, the demographic changes have taken place. The Muslim numbers in Jammu has been slowly and steadily increasing. Maybe these sorts of attacks are going to fashion or accelerate that process of demographic composition. That means people will leave, they will be concentrated somewhere near the Jammu city side or to the other parts of the country. That's a different matter, but these are the two possible reasons in my humble view. One, this election and giving a message, and secondly this ulterior motive of changing the demographic profile. Having said that, now the question is why it is being done, what our security forces are doing. Any student who has studied terrorism, and this is called hybrid war, and this hybrid war, as you know, the center of its operation, I mean the nerve center, or rather the center from where it is controlled, that happens to be in Pakistan. And ये जो hybrid war में nowhere in the world there has been any perfect solution. I think that is I'll not use the word charm or beauty. I think that's a positive word, but I think that is the thing inherent in terrorism as such. That means this suddenness and conveying a message. You cause some damage, but your message would be conveyed in a very disproportionate manner, in a manner which will reach a much bigger target, and things of that sort. So the point is why we have not been able to stop it. As I said, that nowhere any force, any country has been able to stop this sort of terrorist things. There is no foolproof system anywhere. You can minimize it, you can fight it, and I think you should all the time be ready to fight it, and you have to fight it out. But if anybody can say that there will be 100% guarantee, like our politicians give guarantee, then they are living in a world of illusion or fool's paradise. That's one. And two, as you know, since as I said, the incidents and things are relatively in a much better way under control in the Kashmir part, and in this thing and then because of that Chinese presence there in Ladakh, and after 2020, what has happened, Galwan, and heavy presence of our troops there in that sector to match the heavy presence of the Chinese in that sector. There, as some security experts say, the presence of the Indian troops in this part of Jammu part, etc., I think that has thinned. मतलब यहाँ से काफ़ी लोग वहाँ शिफ्ट हुए हैं, एंड ये जो वैकेंसी जो हुआ है, that needs to be filled up, and that has not been filled up. Suppose एक एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ, यहाँ 1000 ट्रूप्स हमारा थे इन वेरियस पोस्ट, बट अगर 1000 वहाँ चले गए, सपोज यहाँ हमारा सब पोस्ट होते हैं 100 होते हैं कि 10 होते हैं, तो 100 कम से कम जवान होने चाहिए, बट ये जो 1000 सपोज वहाँ चले गए, आई थिंक दैट हैज नॉट, दैट पर्टिकुलर thing has not been replenished. Their positioning that has changed and that has not been properly replenished. As a result, what is happening? And then if you see geographically, it is much easier for these terrorists coming from Pakistan's side much easily to the Jammu region, because the line of control of the international border is much nearer. Whereas actually for them to go to Kashmir Valley means they have to cross nearly 100 miles or 100 to 150 kilometers, because Kashmir as such is located at a greater distance from this line of control, and in Jammu line of control and our international border, and whereas in case of Jammu, Rajouri, Poonch, there I think some villages they cross through, the line of control just touches some village this side, and another from the Pakistan side there villages. So that means they are so near, so it becomes much easier. Plus they are geographically speaking dense location, dense forests, particularly pine trees and things of that sort. So they find it much easier to come to this side. And as I said, now the focus is on Jammu region to as I said, that ulterior motive of changing this demographic profile. One can say, why is Pakistan all told that the so-called hot war, I'm not talking of the hot war, not in a big, as you said, this firings across the line of control that was there say 2-3 years back, that frequency has literally been stopped. I think there has been no such thing, and I really do not, of course, terrorism has always been a foreign policy instrument of Pakistan, and when and the Pakistan army always uses that thing against India, but there can be really debates on this. Is really Pakistan army doing this? One can say that they have not totally given up their strategy of bleeding India by using these Islamic fundamentalist terrorists, but one can debate the way Pakistan, the situation now the Pakistan is in its grave economic crisis, and they have got much bigger problems. Ironically speaking, with Taliban in Afghanistan, which earlier they were saying provided them the strategic depth against India, but I think that has not happened. And actually, if any country which has been adversely affected the most after the Taliban have gained back power there in Afghanistan, ironically speaking, it is Pakistan, no other country. So that being the case, whether Pakistan army is actively involved in promoting this sorts of thing can be a matter of debate. But I think what to me sounds the bigger plausibility is this. These terrorists, particularly this Islamic fundamental, these terrorists who fight in the name of Islam, I think they are now also many factions of them are more or less now not exactly under Pakistan Army's control. I think they do have this autonomy, and unfortunately, what is happening when one talks of this democratic world in leading democracies where the elections do take place, where, like here in India, like that elections are going to take place in United States. We just had elections there in Britain, France. So what is happening there? The political competition has become so intense in all the democracies, like here in India. The vote bank politics is becoming very, very, becoming a very prominent feature in the polities of this democratic world. And as a result, what is happening? These minority votes to get their, say, whether in Britain, France, Europe, America, India. And when one talks of minority, who constitutes the largest minority there? It happens to be Islam. And unfortunately, this war there in between Hamas and Israel, what has happened is this: these Islamic fundamentalists, they are getting great support from this so-called left liberal elements in this democratic world who need these minority votes, like the Muslims and Pakistanis, the role, and the Khalistanis, the way they voted the Labour Party in Britain, and in France, the Muslim immigrants coming from Africa and West Asia, the role that they play there in France and in other parts of Europe. The minorities, the way now they are playing a role even in America. You see these university campuses. Now openly people are supporting the so-called Palestinians cause, the cause of Kashmir. In Canada it is the cause of Khalistan. I think today I read that very stupid comment of the Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau. He says that some great very famous Punjabi singer, I don't remember his name, he's going to have his concert there. It is usually attended. He says, "This gentleman from Punjab." You should say that he's from India. Why you talk of that he's from Punjab? But the point that I'm trying to make is this vote bank politics and cultivating these minorities. So what they have done, they have got disproportionately much more influence, and that in turn is actually what has happened. These Islamic militants, and particularly these fundamentalists everywhere, they have got big boost. You can say that their morale has been boosted hell of a lot. So the way they are now creating problems in Middle East, West Asia, and this thing. So what we see is that, as I said, that these fundamentalist elements in Pakistan who are really promoting, or rather boosting, or sending these terrorists to India and doing and these sorts of things. So their morale has been boosted. They think that it is a matter of time before the entire world will come under the influence of Islam. So it is a question of becoming a religious war. It is not only a question of getting back Kashmir, which they think is theirs, but it is taking the connotation of this religion there. I think that is another important factor. So if this is what is happening and this is how it is happening, what we should do? So as I said, we have to fight it out, because there is simply no alternative. The terrorists cannot really threaten you. The terrorists cannot win the war, must not be allowed to win the war against you. And you should be prepared to take these losses of our precious human lives. May God bless them in the other part of the point is this: these countries should be prepared, and we should do more. Of course we should try all our best to reduce these things, and it is a very gigantic task. I'm quite sure the government will be doing this. There are no two opinions on that, but that requires a national consensus. I think these attacks should not break us Indians. These attacks should not demoralize us and gives an impression as if the abrogation of Article 370 was a disastrous step that this Modi government opted for. I think something, unfortunately, our leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, today has said that what we are seeing in Jammu and Kashmir because of the policies of the Modi government. I mean, it gives an impression that as if before the abrogation of Article 370, everything was peaceful in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Nothing can be more demoralizing than that sort of interpretation. If Mr. Gandhi means that, of course, he did not talk of Article 370, but the very fact that he says that it is because of this wrong policies of the Modi government. And as you know, as a political party, the Congress was very much opposed to the abrogation of Article 370. In fact, it is the Congress leaders and their representatives, they had gone to the Supreme Court and to fight it, saying that how it is illegal. So that's a different matter. But at the same time, one can say that Mr. Gandhi, and I must admire that after making this point, he finally says that no, here we must stand together. I think that is what he should have limited his talk, or limited his speech, or limited his view or comment to that. As a nation, we all must stand together. We have to fight terrorism. There is so far the world from history, immoral, has not been able to find out a concrete solution, or you can say some patent medicine against these terrorist incidents. They are there to demoralize you, and we must not fall into the trap of these terrorists. They cannot win over us. India as a country, as a society, as a nation, always will prevail over them. Thank you for your patience. Thank you.